Okay, back with Ask Uncle Lee Wednesday. Right, so as always, if you have any questions, anything you want help with, anything you want a different perspective on, leave them in the comments below and I'll add it to the list. But let's get going with today's 3 questions. Join me over on Patreon, where you will find all of my books, services, and courses in the shop, blog posts, and the various tiers which you can explore. You can get magical training in the Temple of the Horned Serpent First Degree, and joining as a free member gets you started with that, or explore the Magical Journal and the Egregore Project. Hope to see you there. Okay, first question is this one from Kiawata. Wait, let me just go over here so I can see it properly. Kiawata 1. Hi Lee, I have a question. I believe I have had a generational curse within, coupled with imposter and parasitic entities. I'm working to expel them. However, I'm confused. Isn't my patron deity, my guardian demon, supposed to protect me from such things? Not necessarily. Your patron demon or your guardian demon is there to guide you. Quite often, if we do have something, especially something which is generational, it's usually something which we need to work through. And that part of that whole process of working through it can be a healing, and sometimes that healing can be being attacked by astral parasites and such things, because we need to understand how to deal with them so that we can understand how to deal with them in the future. It's not a case of I'm being attacked by something, go, please help me, and all of a sudden they come along and help you. In some cases they do, because the reason for the attack is unwarranted. It may be just somebody who has a grievance against you and decided to attack you because they're silly. But it's not really something they would always kind of stand there and guard. As I said, sometimes you have to go through an entire healing process, and that can be quite painful. It's a bit like, if you are changing your worldview. In order to change your worldview, you've got to completely destroy or break down your previous worldview in order to build up a new one. And that's an extremely painful process, and nobody can protect you from that. Nobody, absolutely nobody. But it's a process, it's a very important process that you need to go through. Dealing with something like this, probably you're going to need to learn discernment. A big part of magical foundational work is learning discernment. You can work with the ancestors to help with that specific thing, with discernment. I just saw that the thing's a bit clipped off here. Let me just move that over. Otherwise it's going to stay like that in the future. Discernment is an incredibly important thing. So that when you're dealing with the ancestors themselves, when you're dealing with gods and goddesses and demons, etc., you're actually dealing with the spirit you want to deal with, not imposters or parasitic entities and whatnot. But that's something you need to learn, and that's foundational. Therefore, any kind of guardian spirit is not going to stand there and stop all of this, because you need to learn it. You need to go through all those processes, otherwise you're just going to end up being kind of delusional, and everything's going to be fantastical because you haven't been faced with the realities of things. So probably what's going on there. I hope that helps. Not sure if it does, but let me know if it does or doesn't. Okay, so next question is this one from Joanne Myron. Or Joanne, not sure. Question: How to better regenerate one's energy? I work in a very demanding corporate setting. I often don't feel the energy to even start anything magical. When I do a ritual or magic work, it doesn't drain my energy, but I don't have the strength to start one lately, thankfully. This could be a result of several things. It could be something planetary, astrological that you're going through at the moment, which is just leaving you a bit demotivated. It could be that you're just going through a patch or a period where you just have an energy drain, and it's just part of the natural processes. But at the same time, if it is something which has been going on for a very long time because you're in this corporate setting and you are draining yourself, you might want to have a look at your corporate setting itself and why it's draining you, first of all. I'm not suggesting leave your job or anything like that, but there's probably some kind of solution you can come up with. Even with, I spoke about this, bringing vampirism up again. I spoke about this in the vampirism video. We sometimes have situations where we can't avoid the actual energy drain itself. You may have an elderly relative that you go and visit in an old age home. Whenever you go there, you feel drained because you've got all these old people that are trying to stay alive, and they're draining the energy of the younger people around them in order to, keep them going. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's not anything malevolent or anything like that. It's just that they're trying to stay alive, so they're, feeding off other people's energy. And in that case, there's things you can do to help, like create a talisman. And what you can do is overnight, you can let it fill with energy. How you do that, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. But you kind of let it fill with energy, and then in the morning, maybe it's jewelry, you put it on, and then you go about your day. And what happens is, instead of whoever it is feeding, if anybody's feeding off your energy, they'll feed off the amulet or the talisman instead of you. But if it's just a draining job because it's so busy and active, then you might want to have a look at things like your diet. Is there something you can change in your diet which would help with your energy reserves? You might want to include, if you have the time, you might want to include things like yoga or qigong. I do qigong myself, which I find amazing. It's easy. It's not as restrictive as other forms like yoga, which is, you have to get into the perfect position, otherwise you can damage your body, type of thing. Or like Tai Chi, which is also very flowing, but you have to get into the perfect position again. But with qigong, it's a bit more relaxed, and it works fantastically. And if you keep doing that every day, what happens is you build up your energy reserves. You actually build up your guardian chi, which protects you from illness and things like that. So that would probably also help with energy drainage and whatnot. Lessen the effects of it. But yeah, I'd start journaling. That's where I'd actually start, is journaling. Everyday journal about your day, about the people you interacted with, about include things like moon phase, weather, all of these things, and see if you can start finding patterns in the actual information. Because if you can find patterns, then you know how to correct the situation. So that would be the first place. Then if it's something which is part of your environment, maybe something's draining you, maybe it's got something to do with feng shui. Maybe your desk is just in the wrong spot. See if you can change it. See if you can change things on your desk. The configuration of things on your desk to help with the energy flow. All of these things could be possibilities. So there's so much that you can actually have a look at in this regard. So have a look at your environment, then have a look at yourself. Is there something you can change in your diet or your daily practice that can help with your energy reserves? If you're the kind of person who's kind of gets up in the morning and is filled with energy, it's bouncy and everything else. I'm not talking about the first 5 minutes, but you're kind of like this energetic, bouncy person in the morning, and throughout the day it just becomes this absolute drain, and that's something severe. But if you wake up and it's just normal energy reserves, and by the end of the day you just you've depleted that energy reserve, then that's it's kind of a normal thing, normal process you're going through. So all of these things, you're going to have to start tracking everything and see where you can find those patterns. But try and incorporate things like Qigong. Even if you do, it doesn't have to be in the morning, you can do it in the evening when you get home. I do find that doing Qigong in the evening kind of does affect my sleep. It's a bit doesn't help very much because all of a sudden I've got energy and I'm trying to go to sleep. Actually, that brings something to mind which I was reminded about recently. I'm listening to Living Thelema podcast because I'm reading the book as well, which I'm going to review. And something he mentions in there regarding the banishing, or the not the banishing, but the lesser rite of the pentagram. So you've got your banishing and you've got your invoking rite. And people have found, it's suggested when you're practicing Thelema and you start doing the rituals of the pentagram, you do both the invoking and the banishing at least once a day anyway. And people found if they did the invoking ritual in the evening, they couldn't get to sleep. So what they started doing was they got up in the morning and they did the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram in the morning, which kind of invoked the energy and helped them through the day. And then they would do the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram in the evening, which then kind of banishes all that crap you've gathered during the day, as you're interacting with people and whatnot, all that sludge. And that kind of banishes that, and then it gets easier to sleep. And if you have good sleep, you're refreshed again in the morning. So something you might want to look at as well. Incorporating the lesser banishing rituals, lesser ritual of the pentagram, the invoking and the banishing, the LERP and the LBRP. Okay, might want to have a look at that as well. There's a lot of different ways you can get around this. There's a lot of different reasons for it. So, as I said, first step, journal as much as you can. Try and find the patterns. See where things are being affected. Okay. Hope that one helps. All right. And last question for today is from Themis Turge. Them is Turge? Not sure. But you're tagged anyway. Thanks, Unk. It's a pleasure. Potential question. What role do demons play in human movements? Things like rebellions, political movements. I find very interesting. I keep it neutral for a modern audience. Please use examples in the previous century or older if you decide to tackle this one. Thanks, Unk. All right, so themselves, they don't really have any thing to do with them. The actual, they don't kind of still sit around at a table and go, "Oh, shall we cause this war?" Or whatever it is. But what you probably will find is that magicians will call them and request that they do a particular thing, and that particular thing may lead to something like a rebellion or a war. May influence political movements, as you suggested there. So it's not really the spirits themselves; it's the people who are utilizing the energies. It's a word I haven't used in a long time. Utilize. It's quite like using use and call upon. Utilize. That's a good word to use here. Utilize the energies of the spirits themselves. A good example of this, and this is, I always come back to Marbas with these examples because perfect spirit for this. So if we look at Marbas heals illnesses, but also causes all diseases and illnesses. So depending on who's working with Marbas, you're going to have a different outcome. And I remember many, many, many years ago, I was reading an account of somebody who had a conversation with Marbas, and it came out that Marbas started the Black Plague. But it wasn't Marbas himself. Well, he did it, but he didn't decide to do it. He didn't, as I said, he didn't kind of sit down by himself or with a group of other demons around a table, boardroom table, and kind of go, shall we create the Black Plague today? He didn't decide to do it. He was called by a magician, and the magician asked him to create the Black Plague. And he did. Why? Because he's just a spirit. He he doesn't really give a damn what we do in our interactions with ourselves and our human world and everything else. He doesn't live here permanently. We do. So, as I said before, these spirits are not negative or positive. They are not evil or good. They are not black or white. They're just energies. They do things, and they can do one thing. They can usually do the opposite of that thing because they're a bit more balanced than we are. We kind of try to focus on, we must be good or we must be bad, or no. This is the whole reason, I think, to pursue this whole idea of magic and spirituality and stuff, is to find the same balance that the spirits do. So, same thing with nature. Nature's beautiful. You can go stand outside and feel a breeze on your face and look up at the sun and feel the warmth of the sun, and hear the wind blowing through the leaves of the trees, and hear the birds and the animals, standing in a forest, and it's just beautiful. And then all of a sudden a forest fire comes through and destroys and kills everything within its path. And it's not bad. It's just part of the process. Because after that, then life comes back again. And the cycle continues and continues and continues and continues. So, forces of nature, spirits which are 5-dimensional entities that don't live in our physical, illusory world that we live in, this thing that we have, and the skin and everything else. They live beneath the skin, and so if you call them and they can do something, they'll just do it for you. If there's a good energy exchange, and yeah, that's it. So, sorry, what was your question again? Oh yes, what role do demons play in human movements? Nothing. It's the magicians, the people who are working with the energy which is the spirit itself, and how they mold and twist and turn and move that energy themselves is between the magician and the magician themselves, and the demon just is the energy that they use. So yeah, I think that does that one. All right. So that's it for today, and I'll see you next week for more. Have a good one until then. Cheers. Bye-bye.